Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the Lumi Knits podcast. My name's Hayley. I'm coming to you from Wadawurrung land, and I want to thank the Wadawurrung people for their ongoing custodianship of the ancient land where I live and work. I want to recognise their enduring connection to the land, skies and waterways that I'm so fortunate to share, and I pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people and their elders past, present and emerging. You can find me on Instagram at lumi.knits or on Ravelry at Lumi Knits AU, and I'll pop all the necessary information that you need in the show notes below. So thanks for coming along and watching today. It's been a little while since I've done a podcast. We've had the Christmas and New Year period, and also we're on holidays over here in Australia. So the kids have been home, my husband's been home, we're both teachers, so everyone's home. But the kids are off at vacation care today to give everyone a little bit of breathing room, and my husband's inside doing something else. I thought it would be a great opportunity to jump in and say hi. I'm outside today for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's a beautiful day. The weather here hasn't been your typical Australian summer. We've had a lot of rain. It's been very wet, very stormy, and today's one of the days where the sun's come out for us. So I'm just outside enjoying that. So you'll probably hear lots of outdoor noises. My dog might pop in and say hello as well. I've got a feeling my neighbour's going to mow their lawn, in which case I'll just pause and pick up later on. But anyway, so if you hear lots of ambient noise, that's just how it sounds at my place right now. So I thought today I would do the sort of normal podcast thing, but there's also something fun that I want to do in addition to my normal content. I was watching Jessica Faith Cooper's podcast last night, and she did a 2024 knitting ins and outs. So the things that she wants in her knitting for this year and the things that she wants out of her knitting world for this year. There's lots of videos at the moment of everything I knit in 2023. There's no way I could do that. I am not a good enough record keeper to be able to show you all that, and it's not really something that I'm interested in. But the idea of the 2024 ins and outs really sort of took my fancy, so I'm going to be doing that a little bit later in the podcast. So I think probably the last time I popped in would have been in November, and I'm sure it was just before I finished my field sweater. So I'd been working on this field sweater for ages. I was anxiously awaiting the pattern release because I'd been seeing all the test knits, and I absolutely loved it. And so just this is a recap for those of you who've been watching for a while. You probably know all this. I picked up some beautiful Great Ocean Road Woolen Mills alpaca blend at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show in Bendigo back in July, and I got to work on it. So I'm finished. I had a little bit of a dilemma about the hem, because I knit too far, and I was sort of tossing up whether to rip back and do the proper ribbed hem or whether to do an I-cord bind off. And I went with the proper ribbed hem because I figured if I was going to put this much effort into a piece, I wanted it to be something that I was really happy with. So I did that, and I'm glad I did, because now it hits at the perfect length. I'm not going to try it on. It's quite a heavy garment, and it's too hot for me to be wearing it, but I will show you, of course. So here she is. I'm very excited. I think that's back to front. I'll pop it around this way. So it's the field sweater. You've probably seen it 10 bazillion times in your Instagram feed or in your Ravelry feed. I just did it true to pattern, except I do twisted rib for hems and sleeves and necks. Although I have been working on a secret test knit, and I did short pearls in a traditional rib, and that finish has come up really nice too. I'll talk about that in a moment, but here we go. Here she is. Here's my my beautiful field sweater. It is a bit wrinkly because it's been folded up. I haven't even worn this yet. It's just too heavy to wear. It's quite thick. I have blocked it. It's washed up really well. It's fuzzy. It's soft. It's lovely. So the yarn is lovely. The pattern is lovely. There's a couple of things that I'm not entirely satisfied with, and one of those is that somewhere within the yoke I switched from knitting a size 5 to a size 6. So it's quite wide, and like it's very wide in the body, and when I wear it, it kind of bunches up here under my arm a little bit. So I'm not super happy with that. I'm a bit disappointed that it's like that. I could have gone back and ripped back all the grains and found out where I went wrong, but that was just never going to happen because the grains were really hard work and I struggled with them quite a bit. So that's the reason that I didn't rip back when I realized I had the stitch count for a 6 when I got to separate for the sleeves. But anyway, overall, it's still beautiful. It's still soft. I'm still going to get a lot of wear out of it. The other mistake I made was obviously always right in the front. I'm not sure if you can see, where is it? When I was joining the yarn, I decided to spit splice it, and that was a big mistake because it made it quite thick. And again, I should have gone back and I didn't. I just really like finishing things, I suppose. Where is it? It's a pretty good sign if I can't actually find the problem that I'm looking for, I suppose. Anyway, there's a sort of one section about that long that's quite thick in the yarn, and the stitches look a bit bigger than everything else. I probably won't knit this field sweater again. It's beautiful and I love it as a finished product, but I didn't love the yoke, and the yoke's kind of the most important part of it. Once I was under the stockinette, I was fine. I just went round and round and round. And this is the first time that I've knit a jumper and the sleeves have been quite quick. For some reason, I did not have a problem with the sleeves. I flew through those, I think, in a couple of days. Yeah, so that's my field sweater. I've got mixed feelings about it, obviously. I was really happy with it before I finished it. I don't know why. My next finished object that I want to show you, and this one I am really happy with in every respect, is just a little self-drafted raglan. So it's a short sleeve t-shirt, and I finished off the edges with just a bamboo yarn because I had it in my stash and the colour matched the other yarn. And this does have a little bit of a story behind it because this yarn was originally my grandmother's. My grandmother died when I was 13, and somehow in the last few years I wound up with some of her yarn, and I don't really know how it happened. It's a linen blend, and you can see that it's got I'm back. Sorry, I got interrupted there. My son is at vacation care and got stung by a bee, so he's fine. They just like to let you know. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. I was talking about my self-drafted raglan. The yarn is like a linen blend that's got sort of these nups. I don't know if you'd even call them nups, but it's just a really textured one. It's thick and thin in places. It's this green held together with a finer white yarn, and it was just really nice. So I knitted a really nice open airy gauge. It sort of hits right at about the same spot where my field sweater hits, so just at the top of my hips. It's really nice and breezy. It's comfy to wear. And I really like it. For something that's self-drafted, I'm quite happy with how it's, I'm quite happy with how it's come up. Yeah, so that's my other finished object. I'll probably pop some pictures up on my Ravelry so that people can see. I haven't blocked it yet. It's one of these projects that's just been sitting around. It took me forever just to do the hems and sleeves and the neckline, and then it took me forever to get back in and weave in the ends. So it was something that required maybe a good solid hour's work to be finished, and I just didn't put that work in. So I've finally gotten it done, and I'm looking forward to wearing it this summer. So that's my other finished object. I have also knit a couple of gifts that I've given away, so I can't show you. I knit a giant gnome baby for my 16th niece nephew on my husband's side, so I think it will be our final baby on that side, and I made him a giant gnome, and that was the Gnome Baby with Vest by TonyaGunn. And then for Christmas, my mum saw the giant gnome baby and she suggested that she would like a gnome, so I made her a Christmas Gnome by Susanne Vetterkind. And that's just a free pattern, and it made this really super cute little gnome, which my mum loved because it looks a lot like my dad. So there you go. They're my finished objects. I've got a few works in progress. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a secret test knit, which I can't show you or really talk about, but I can say it's a sock, I suppose, and it's coming up really, really nicely. I'm very happy with it. Yeah, it's going to be a really nice set of socks, and when that pattern is released, I think it will not be till September or October, but I'll probably try and remember to show it and talk about it a bit more then. So that's been taking up most of my time. The test knit started on the 1st of January and I've almost finished one sock, and I've got 6 weeks to do one sock, so that's good. I'm on track with that. I would like to have both socks finished within the testing period, because the pattern calls for deep ends and I'm knitting it on the small circumference needles that I prefer, and I would like to make a few notes for the designer in case she wants to include some different directions for small circumference needles or magic loop. So the first one was just kind of me getting my head around the pattern. The second sock I'll take some more detailed notes and hopefully be able to give her some good feedback on that. So that's been fun. I've really enjoyed seeing people's progress and being part of the test knit, because I've done one before, but it was a bit sketchy and I didn't do a very good job, and I always sort of thought, oh, you know, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But I think small projects I'm happy to do a test knit for, because I can give that feedback, and you know, it takes all kinds of knitters to make this world go around, and you know, I'm sure there's other people that are like me that take a really long time to knit a jumper, so you know, a sock test knit or a hat would be fine. So there's that. I'm still working on my Simple Thing scarf by Melina Brell, which is coming up really nicely, but it's a pick up put down project, and at the moment it's down and it's staying down for a while. I'm still working on my Little Dot socks by Summer Lee Design Co. I haven't really picked up those for a while. I think I'm coming to the end of the tube and I'm going to have to do the afterthought heel, and I may be procrastinating and avoiding a little bit there. So we'll see what happens. I may even pull those out just because I'm not too happy with the colours, but we'll see. And the other work in progress, and this is the one that I am working on actively alongside the test knit, is my Alpine Bloom tee by Caitlin Hunter, and it's coming up really beautifully. I'm using a Fluff and Nonsense Merino Silk Yak for the main colour, and a Daffodil Road sock yarn for the contrast colour, and I'm so glad that I chose the contrast colour that I did, because it's just really working in well with the main colour and it's just looking gorgeous. So I'm going to show it to you. That's pretty good colour wise. I think you can sort of see the colours quite well. It's the beautiful deep burgundy, and it's really standing out against this sort of rusty this rusty tone. Oh, and you know, have a look at my floats. They look great. I'm very happy with those. So obviously I'm not very far into it, because it's colour work, it does take me a little longer, but I'm happy with the tension, I'm happy with the floats. I'm really enjoying this one, and it feels absolutely lovely. It's really soft, and just, yeah, really soft and smooth. It's beautiful yarn to work with, both of them, the Merino Silk Yak and the sock yarn, the Daffodil Road sock yarn. I'm definitely going to be looking at Daffodil Road for yarn in the future, just because I'm so smitten with the colour and the feel of this yarn. It's just gorgeous. So yeah, that's my Alpine Bloom tee. Probably ready for next summer. Probably not for this summer, but that's okay. Yeah, so that's my other work in my last real work in progress. I pulled out a mitt that I wasn't really happy with. I think I've got travel socks on the go. Nothing really to write home about other than the test knit and the Alpine Bloom in terms of what I've been doing. Did pull my spinning wheel out last night and have a bit of a spin. That was nice. I'm having a lot of trouble with the tension, and so it's over spinning before it goes onto that reel. As you can tell, I'm a pretty new spinner. So it's over spinning, it's just a little tight and curly, so I've been just messing around with some some fleece that I got at Bendigo Woolen Mills out of their sale bin, because I've got some beautiful black alpaca fleece that I want to spin, but I'm not really keen to do that until I'm a bit more skilled, because even if I can spin the first reel, it's plying the two together where I'm really struggling. So I'm just going to get a bit more practice before I go to the good stuff. I picked up, I'm moving on from works in progress now. I was looking at getting the Laine 52 Weeks of Easy Knits book, and I thought about it and I sort of tossed it up and that kind of thing, and in the end I was lucky enough to find it at my local library. So it's been on hold and I got it a couple of days ago, and I had a look, and there's some beautiful patterns in there, but I'm really glad I didn't buy the book. There's just not enough in there to sort of, you know, make it worth my while in terms of a purchase. So if you are thinking about buying a book like that, I'd highly recommend going to your local library and seeing if they've got it, because you might be able to get a better idea of, you know, if you really want that or not. You know, if you've got an unlimited book budget, go for your life. But if you're like me and you need to give these things a little bit of thought, yeah, check out your local library. Mine is getting more and more knitting books all the time. I've come across some really great ones in there that I've enjoyed, so might be worth a look for you too. All right, I'm going to move on now to my 2024 knitting ins and outs. So the ins are the things that are in for my knitting this year, the things that I want to achieve and the things that I want to focus on and concentrate on. So my first in for 2024 is going to be podcasting more regularly. I am a little bit sporadic in my podcasting. I would like to be more consistent, and I'd probably like to learn how to do it a little better. I'm getting distracted by butterflies. I would like to learn how to do it a little bit better. I've got a very basic setup and I don't know the difference between vlogging and podcasting. Just might be a little bit of a learning time for me, and hopefully I'll be able to just put a bit more content out a bit more regularly. It is something I really enjoy and I get a lot out of. Hope you do too. So yeah, that's my first one. My second one is knitting from my stash. I've got 2 sweater quantities of yarn at least in my stash. I've gone through and I've culled a heap of stuff from my studio. I've gotten rid of books and leather and yarn, because I pick things up and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, this is going to be great, I'm going to enjoy this hobby, and then I just never get to it. So I've gotten rid of a lot of things. We want to put a new floor in my studio, because at the moment it's this really disgusting acrylic carpet, and every fibre that I use sticks to it. And because I sew and I knit and I spin, it's just covered in sticky bits of fibre, like little bits, and you can't vacuum it off, it just doesn't come off. So we're going to pull up that carpet and put in some vinyl flooring. Hopefully I'll get some new furniture in there, because at the moment it's just kind of an assortment of things and lots of stuff stacked on top of other stuff and that kind of thing. So knitting from my stash is going to be really important to me, because I am trying to make a bit of space to be able to enjoy my studio more and spend more time up in there. But at the moment it's just such a disaster zone that it's really hard for me. So yeah, I've got some beautiful emerald coloured Bendigo Woolen Mills, I can't remember the name of it, Galaxy maybe, 8-ply yarn, which I was going to use for a Lodestar jumper, but the Lodestar counts just never worked for me and I was never able to get past the yoke. So I'm going to try and think of another project for that. And I've also got the beautiful Bendigo Woolen Mills rustic yarn in that deep mustard colour that I like, that I used for my Felix cardigan that I frogged probably 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. So I'd really like to make something with those. And then I've just got a bunch of bits and pieces that I'm going to try and find projects for. My next knitting in for 2024 is keeping my Ravelry project pages detailed and up to date. I'm shocking for starting the project and then not writing anything, and then I go back and try and work out what needle size I used or how much yarn I used, and the information just isn't there, especially with socks, because I do a lot of self-drafted socks for my dad and my uncle. I don't always include the even just the stitch count at the start, like how many I cast on for it. And it can be a bit of a problem because I go to make those socks again and the information's just not there. So one of my big knitting ins for 2024 is keeping my Ravelry up to date. I was really lucky. For Christmas I got a beautiful handbag from my daughter. I chose it and I chose it because I have the same version in brown and this one's in black, so I've got a black one and a brown one, and they're a really great handbag because they've got this pocket at the back, and it's just the right size for a sock and a small ball of sock yarn. And so one of my knitting ins for 2024 is going to be keeping a sock in that pocket of my handbag, so I've always got something with me. I'm pretty good at remembering a travel project, but sometimes I forget and I get caught short and I'm annoyed with myself. So I'm going to use that pocket for the purpose of some travel socks that I can work on. The bag's it's a crossbody bag by B London. They make B London, B Italy, I don't know. It's Italian leather, but I don't know if it's made in London. But anyway, they're beautiful bags. I can pop in a link or something down below so you can see them. If I forget and you want to know, just leave me a comment. And my final knitting in for 2024 is going to be learning a new technique in brioche. Brioche? I always go say brioche, but that's the bread, I think. So brioche. I've done a little bit of brioche in my West Knits. What was it called? The mystery knit along from a couple of years ago. Can't remember, but there was a brioche section in that, and I really enjoyed knitting it, and I loved the feel of it. I loved the texture it gave the yarn, but I don't really love the look of brioche that much, so I want to sort of explore brioche knitting a bit and see if I can find some patterns that I like the look of, and be able to practice that skill and that technique and hopefully make something I really like. So they're my knitting ins. My knitting outs, there's not as many. I've only got 3. I've got my notes down here. I've only got 3. So my first one is pretty important. One of my big knitting outs for 2024 is me winging it, because I usually do a token gauge swatch if I'm knitting a jumper, but if I'm being honest, I might as well not even do the swatch because I make them so small because I don't want to waste the yarn. I make them so small and I don't do a very good job of it. It's kind of a near enough is close enough thing, and I think it is affecting the quality of some of my finished garments. So my knitting out is not doing proper swatches. I really want to do proper swatches for bigger projects. I'm still not going to do them for socks and shawls and stuff because that's pointless to me. But if I'm going to be doing like a jumper or a cardigan, I'm going to do a gauge swatch and I'm going to do them properly. So no more winging it this year. The next one out is something I've been working on for a while, since I started cleaning out my studio and getting ready. Out this year is going to be being lazy with my tools. I've got a lot of interchangeable sets. I've got small circumference needle interchangeable sets. I've got I've got my Chalgu ones. I've got my hires. I've got a lot of tools, and they're good tools, but I don't tend to care for them as well as what I should. I'll just, instead of undoing the needle tips and putting them back in the case and putting the cable away, I just kind of put them in a box and think, oh yeah, I'll get to that, and I never do, and it's just this mess. So I've started to sort that out and get my kits all back together so that when I want something, it's really easy for me to find and I know where everything is. So I really want to focus in on being really careful with my tools and looking after them properly. So I don't want to be lazy with my tools anymore, because they're the things that let me do this activity that I enjoy so much, and without them it wouldn't be anywhere near as enjoyable because I'd have to use inferior tools, which I don't want to do. So I'm not going to be lazy with my tools in 2024. And my final out for knitting in 2024 is buying yarn without a project in mind. It kind of links to knitting from stash, but I'm a bit of an impulse buyer, and I've started going to the Australian Sheep and Wool show, and I went to the She's Crafty Festival in Castlemaine a couple of months ago. and I bought some things without a real clear project in mind for them, and I kind of regret it because now I've got this beautiful yarn sitting there that I invested in and I really don't know what to do with it. So from now on, if I'm buying yarn, I want to buy it with a project in mind. So rather than, and not just trying to fit a project to it when I see it because I like the colour. I do have a set of, I do have 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn up in my studio from Fibersmith that I want to do another Crawford shawl in because I love my Crawford shawl. I wear it all the time. It gets loads of compliments. I like it because it's not a deep shawl, it's more like a scarf with the mosaic detail in it, and I really love that. So I'm glad that I bought that yarn with that project in mind because I think I'll get a lot of wear out of that project. I enjoyed knitting it. I think that's going to be a really good one for me, and I want to make sure that I'm carrying that kind of intention with me in all of my yarn buying this year. So they're my 2024 knitting ins and outs. I would love to hear yours, whether it's knitting or crochet. What are the things that you really want to bring into your craft this year, and what are the things that you really want out of your craft this year? Not like what you get out of it, but what you don't want in your craft this year. You know, crocheting, sewing, quilting, whatever it is your thing. I'd love to know what your ins and outs are because it's always really fascinating to me the way that people think about their craft and the way that people, you know, work their craft into their life and think about what they're doing and how they can do it better. So that's it from me, I think. I said at the start where you can find me on the socials. Yeah, I think that's it. I have been doing a little bit of sewing. I purchased the add-on to the Zadie jumpsuit to make a dress. I've made 2 of those and I love them. I do have a couple of little issues, but I find that the dress version sits better in the top. It doesn't gape as much in the top for me. So anyway, that's probably not what you're here for, but I do recommend the Zadie dress expansion pack if you're into sewing. The dress itself is beautiful, very comfortable, very easy to wear. The pockets are great. Yeah, so recommend that one. I'm going to sign off now because I'm going to have to stitch these 2 together and it's starting to freak me out just thinking about it. Hopefully I'll be back in a month or so, maybe less. Hopefully a month or so. And I can fill you in on what's been happening. I probably will not have made a lot of progress, but I might have something I can tell you. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a beautiful day, a wonderful time doing your craft of choice, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.